I'm Rebecca, the Pedagogical Director from the Bilingue, and in this video, we'll be talking about Bloom's Taxonomy. If you have already studied and understood what CLIO and the 4Cs are, now it's time to see what Bloom says, okay, this author. And Bloom, his taxonomy relates to one of the 4Cs that you have already studied, which is cognition, okay? Cognition is this mental aspect, this mental area. And this is important at the Bilingue because we want to provide our students with activities that they will use their brain, their maximal potential. So Bloom will help us on that. So let's go further this theory then. 1 second, please. Okay, here we are. Here we have Bloom's taxonomy. All right. So according to Bloom, he has divided our mental skills, our levels of thinking in 6 stages, okay? The first stage will be remember, then we would move to understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and finally create. So we want to reach these 3 last levels here. Whenever possible, we should bring activities that the students will analyze, evaluate, and create new things. All right, well, going further, understanding a little bit more what this is, when we have an activity that students would only remember, it means that we'll recall previous information. Basically, that's it. And the students are in this first level of thinking according to Bloom. And if you want to go further, we would have them understand things. It means that they will be able to explain ideas and concepts, which is also okay. Then we would move to apply, which are activities that the students, they're going to use information in a new way. So do you agree with me that applying forces more than understanding and just remembering? Okay. So moving in Bloom's taxonomy, we would have also the analyzing stage. In this stage, students can distinguish differences, and then they would evaluate where they can justify a standard decision. And finally, we would reach the last level of thinking, which is creating, where students can create new language. So how can we apply this Bloom's taxonomy in our activities, in our classes? Bear in mind that we have this beautiful chart here that will help you a lot, okay? So if I were you, I would take a picture, take a screenshot of this screen here, so you can always take notes and go over it, and remember that we have these verbs divided in different levels of thinking according to Bloom's taxonomy. How does it work? When I ask my students to identify something, define, name, or list, I'm working in the first level of thinking, which is remembering. If I want to go further, I would ask my students to describe something, summarize, explain, select, report, or retell. Then, in this case, my students are working in this understanding level of thinking. More than that, if I want them to apply, they would have to show something or to play a role or to work in a role play, right? To change, to prevent, to solve, and to illustrate. If I want my students to analyze, I'll help them comparing, analyzing, criticizing, and differ things. Evaluating would work with validation, justifying, deciding, and choosing. And the last one, if I want my students to work in the highest level of thinking according to Bloom, I would bring activities in which my students would build something, suggest something, develop, invent, make up, and imagine. So I have an invitation to you teachers here. Instead of having activities that the students would only identify, describe, and show, let's try to bring activities in which my students will be able to compare, to validate, and to build. It's not easy, but I know it's totally possible. Have fun.